We are live. I just realized I'm glad we're doing. Can everybody hear me? Hello? Everybody can hear me okay? This can't be. You can, Adam, you can hear me, mate? It's not on yet? I'm getting some yeses here. So yes, everyone can hear me speaking after last time. Okay, we're good. We're all good. So I'm here to answer some questions. I'm going to start with the stuff that I had on the posts that were made in the last week or so. So I just had a bunch of questions on here, and that's why I thought I'd start. Thank you if you just joined us. Had a great time doing the live session last week. Where I actually played some songs. I know in the post when the video saved went to YouTube, there was some shocking audio problems. So we're going to try and do another live soon. But for now, I'm going to answer some questions for you. So I got this one from Emma. It said, "What inspired you to write Gone, the Pocahontas song? It's my all-time favorite." Gone. That was one of the first songs. Thank you, Emma, for the question. This was one of the first songs that I wrote. I picked up a guitar in the last day of 2010. My parents bought me a guitar. It was kind of a graduation present. I graduated school that year, and I'd studied really hard, and I didn't do any maths. I didn't do any maths. I did too much maths. I didn't do any arts. I did maths 1, maths 2, biology, physics, senior English, and health. So a bit of a nerd at school. And it wasn't until after that I was already doing some writing and kind of doing some freelance journalism was what I was pursuing through my high school years. So I had that writing aspect, and on the last day of 2010, I came home to a guitar, and it would have been in about September, October 2011 when I wrote Gone. It's a very simple song. At some point, I should probably get back on YouTube and do a tutorial for you guys, because honestly, there's a fair couple songs where you could learn the songs. They're pretty easy to play on guitar. But Gone, I wrote. It's a long story. Do you guys want a long story to how Gone came to fruition? Okay. Yes, tutorial. Cool. It's like you guys will have it down pat. You just need a capo and a guitar, and it'll be sweet. So Gone, I wrote because when I was homeschooled and still weird. I was homeschooled. I didn't see inside a classroom until I was 13, and at one point I did some martial arts growing up, along with skating a lot and surfing a lot. So I had like a really kind of physical upbringing, and I do martial arts, and I had this crush on a girl, and this is when I was like 10, and she was a friend of a friend. She didn't train at the same place where I trained, but she'd come along and said I was about 10 when I crushed on this girl, and she actually went to my school in the end. And I just wasn't that cool in school. Still not that cool. And anyway, to put a long story short, is I wrote that song very much word for word after one night when I was 17. I just got my license, and I wrote that song, and then very hilariously released on an EP called Feels Like Home, which any of the super OG people here would know. There was a SoundCloud EP called Feels Like Home at some point. And then I didn't play it probably for a year or two, because I kind of was almost embarrassed of how just straightforward it was and how much it detailed for me personally. And I felt like it was very much a very young teenager song. But then at some point, I re-recorded it with Louis Swain for Land and Sea, and kind of fell. I don't know. You just kind of put it aside. Just had to realize that those songs are really special, because you're not writing a song for the sake that it's going to be something that's published, or it's not. I'm writing a song to go on a record. I'm writing a song because this is how I feel. And so I really love that song, and I've been playing it since 2011. All my live performances pretty much since 2011, and it's still a song that people request, and it's still like on the last tour I played, it was one of the last songs I played in the night. And yeah, so that's the story of Gone. Thanks, Emma, for asking. Looking here, what inspired you to get into creating music? That's a question from the Sunlit Soul. Thank you. I was a writer primarily. Like that's what I thought maybe as another career I was going to do, was freelance writing, and I was already kind of getting published in little surf magazines and stuff. And mostly music was the way that I explained me to myself. To put it simply, it was the way I learned to explain what I was going through and kind of get clear on things. And I had that in writing. I'd say there was definitely a pivotal moment. Shout out Horror Show, shout out Nick and Adit, because a friend of mine, Kai, showed me their music. They're a rap duo from inner West Sydney. They supported me on the last tour, which was really sick. And that was kind of a turning point where I saw that music. I loved music prior to that, obviously, but I didn't play, and I didn't necessarily see until that was a very pivotal moment. I listened to Horror Show for the first time in 2011 because they told these huge, expansive stories in 3 or 4 minutes. And that to me is what music's about, is telling this whole colorful, crazy story, in a matter of moments and seconds and minutes. And so the more I progressed in music, it just became another outlet for writing, another outlet of trying to share what I was going through. It was almost like a very self-indulgent for the most part. And then it's just turned out that you write about what you're going through and things you're curious about, and other people really connect with that. Yeah. That's what inspired me to get into creating music. Now I got one from Mike Day Music on Instagram. Hey, Mike. As a songwriter, how do you know when you finished a song or when you need to keep working on it? Any tips? That's a really good question. I think that, and loving these, by the way, loving these long form questions, guys. This is really a lot of fun. A lot of fun for me to, some of this stuff I haven't considered in a long time. So I think a song, we've recently just been in studio, and I really believe that it's just different musicians, right? And maybe for some of you, like maybe for Mike, for example, maybe you are really fantastic guitar. Whereas for me, if I don't get my guitar taken the first 1, 2, or 3 takes, I might as well go grab a coffee and just come back, because I'm not, even with vocal stuff, it's the first 3 takes, and otherwise I go take a break. And just because for me, it's about a feeling with recordings and with performances. It's sometimes just little things like there's a chair creaking, or a door in the background, or it rained in that take. I remember in Worn Out, for example, of Latch and the Sun, we were recording it and we actually moved outside. Garrett Cater, shout out GK, moved our stuff outside on this sunny day. And on like one of the, maybe it's the 4th take, you go to start and this motorbike takes off, and then there's kids laughing, these kookaburras start laughing in the background. It sounds like it's a setup. It sounds like it's sounds we've just ripped off the internet and put into the recording. But that all happened, and that just immediately became the take. That immediately became the right take, And so as for finishing songs, I just think you can butcher them. I think I think when it's really our job, not when you're in a studio, when you're working on a song, I really think there's an art to just not overworking it, You just got to, does the songs finish when you get that feeling, when it's successfully given you, or you think putting across that message, and when it feels, when there's that feeling of why the song's important to you. I don't very much look at it, it's finished because it has bass and violin and piano and this and that and the other. For me, a song's finished when it has a feeling. I love imperfections in songs. I love those tapes aren't quite right, but you can hear a smile. I like those things. So when you've got all the elements of those imperfections and a naturalness to the song, when the song has kind of found its feet and you aren't then continuing to polish it for the sake of it, that's when a song's finished. You just got to try and listen to your intuition and that feeling. Would you do, this one's from Simone Davenport. Would you do another tour around Australia next year? I'll play Splendor again. I would do both. I love playing Splendor. That was a really incredible, that was just a great night at the GW tent. Was that last year? It wasn't it? It was 2019, yeah. And yeah, I would love to tour Australia again once all this blows over and we can congregate again. I really look forward. The last Australian tour was magical, but I've said to friends and family alike, I wouldn't try and recreate that moment because it was just, wow. You know, that last tour we did in Australia, I'm just looking at the poster here on the wall. It was a very special thing and you wouldn't want to try and recreate that. I look forward to the new things we do on the next tour. That was amazing. So yeah, next year, 2021, let's tour Australia together and let's do all of it. I'm keen. Could you sum up your life? This one's from Vivera. Could you sum up your life philosophy in 1 to 2 sentences? Don't fuck it up. You know, that's something I really think my job in life is I just feel really lucky and I have such an incredible family and friends and such an incredible upbringing and support. And like I said, I play to the best group of people an artist could ask for. And so my job really is just to enjoy the ride and just not screw it up. Yeah, that's it. How do you come up? This one's from Kurt Christo. G'day, Kurt. If you're on here with us, how do you come up with the guitar tunes for each of your songs? Tunings at one point, this is something if you're a musician, or you like playing guitar, you're just learning. Very early on, I got into alternate tunings. Just look up on Google, look up alternate tunings and go through. And I started experimenting. Alternate tunings are really, they're not a great way to necessarily learn how to play more complex chords because you start playing alternate tunings and they almost already sing a chord just as you strum it with nothing, with your playing hand doing nothing. You just strum it, or it has a voicing and almost like a chord of itself. You can see how much I know about music. And I just found that it was I found alternate tunings to be a very fun way to explore different sounds and open my mind to different, ways to write songs. Particularly early on, I loved just experimenting with different tunings, still do today. And as for how I come up with the tunes, it's been a combination. Sometimes I'll just be jamming. It's always just comes out of the blue. I guess I'll start with Together. Together, I just was playing that riff a couple of years ago and wrote one verse and then kept and worked on different stuff and it never felt right. It just kind of fall on my lap, to be honest. I'll just be jamming. More recently, I've had melodies and I've had melodies, crazy voices in my head, and I've managed to kind of find them on guitar. That's recently caught it. And then when it came to lyrics, there would be, there's usually like each song has a bit of a message or a point that I'd like to make. And then those two mesh together. Sometimes I have the lyrics and the idea before I have the music. Yes, I can't tell you. It just, as for how I come up with the guitar parts, it really, I don't push it. I don't sit down and go, right, I'm going to go write a song. I very much have tried to just let them come naturally. When was the last time a couple of days ago, there's been a song I've been working on for a while that I started mucking around. I think you have to be inspired. Two things. I think one, that something I wrote down in my my little notebook is that inspiration can't be postponed. So I think when you've got that moment, I mean, what comes to mind with lyrics, for example, is with Best Friend, one of the songs of Flat Around the Sun, I figured out that bridge, that part after the first two choruses, that kind of outro singing part, that literally popped up in my head on heading on the highway north from the Gold Coast, and I pretty much just had to pull over and try and sing something into my phone. Otherwise, it's just gone. You forget it. So just make space, and try some alternate tunings, and just go with. One thing I feel really lucky for is I don't have any training in music, and I don't know what the chords are that I play. I don't know the names. I don't know the keys of my songs unless someone tells me. Like, I'm just doing what comes naturally, and I think that's really, really good. And so that's not disregarding if you have been trained classically in music at all. It's just saying that creativity isn't always putting a and a, or an A minor and a G and a C together. You know, it can be, but it's not always. So go to Google alternate tunings and just play around, and you'll come up with some great guitar tunes. This one's from Tom Zerner. G'day, Tom. Shout out, Tom. That's what everyone loves to know, what your pre-stage routine is. Food, beverages, tea, if any, meditation, or warm-up. How long before you step up on stage would you last consume any of these, and what's most likely types you would have and kill a live set to, man? Thanks, Tom. Again, great questions. The routine thing I've been more on top of, I'd say, this last couple of years. But even last year when I was touring Europe, feels like forever ago, last year when I was touring Europe, there'd be times where, like, I always try and do a little bit of exercise pre-show. I'd say my routine for the most part is not to sit and wait for that moment to come. It's to be doing things, being active. Us being an independent label, I often am pretty, okay, I'll tell you a day routine on the last tour when I was overseas. I kind of wake up, I do my meditation, we'd have some breakfast or go out for a coffee. Maybe I'd do some emails and some of my Asana tasks, interviews, stuff like that. We'd go to the venue at 2 or 3 o'clock. I would do my vocal warm-up before my sound check. I do vocal warm-ups before sound check and before I play. I just worked with a lady who kind of worked around my range, and those have saved a lot of shows for me. My live performance I played last week, I did a vocal warm-up before. I pretty much now just don't sing before doing a vocal warm-up. And when I don't do my vocal warm-up, I regret it. So everybody just find a little vocal warm-up. It can be really basic. Doesn't have to be something that you go and do 16 classes of, but just do a vocal warm-up before you sing. It's really kind on your voice. My go-to, Tom, I'd say for if you're a singer, is carry around some turmeric powder. It stains everything. I got a hell of a hotel bill once in New Zealand because I spilled my turmeric tea on the ground, and I think I had to replace the whole carpet. It was really good. It was just perfect. I really enjoyed the bill. And shout out NZ. So turmeric powder, organic turmeric powder preferably, not like the stuff that you're going to put in Indian curries. Try and look for like an organic one. Will save you so many times. Put that in your tea. Turmeric's really anti-inflammatory. I've used it for a lot of stuff. I used to use it in cuts a lot. I still do on occasion, just because it's anti-inflammatory, it's antibacterial, heals things really quickly. So when you take it vocally, just start off half a teaspoon in your tea. Licorice tea is really good. What's the tea that I have Kaiser usually on tour? Throat Coat. I've been using that a lot. Throat Coat, just check it out online. There's one brand that makes it in particular. Hashtag not sponsored. Throat Coat, Manuka honey, winner. Manuka honey every day of the week. If like pre-show and turmeric, those are the things that pre-show I tend to try and drink because they're just so good. So that combination, turmeric, organic dried turmeric powder, a little bit of that with Manuka honey in any sort of, just in a tea, licorice tea, throat coat. But I've used ginger, I've used green tea. That's a really good way. That's a really good pre-show thing. Drink a lot of water. Try and drink water through the day, stay hydrated. I notice when you try and drink a lot of water like an hour before your show, because your vocals really require you to be pretty hydrated. Plus you can kind of cramp on stage with your guitar and stuff. Just drinking water throughout the day. Times I've tried to really drink a lot of water, like half an hour before I go out. Like, you try and, like, there's been times I've run off stage literally to pee. It's like, so just don't drink a lot of water. Just drink a little bit of water through the day. I like to get, even if it's just 10 minutes of quiet time meditation before a show, I find that to be really, really helpful, just to be calm before walking out on stage. Even if it's 15 minutes of stretching, 15 minutes of exercise, 15 minutes of yoga, that sort of thing I think really helps with your, not just with your jitters, but it just helps prepare you to go out and do something that's really, can be quite intense sometimes. So bit of meditation, 15, 20 minutes of exercise, not saying so you're flowed before your show. I've done that plenty of times too. Hydrate a bit through the day, and if you're looking for teas, throat coat, licorice, ginger tea is always good, and pair it with manuka honey and organic dried turmeric. That, like half a teaspoon of that. It tastes disgusting. It stains everything, so be warned. But it just helps so much because it just helps so much with inflammation in your throat. It's insane. So this one's from Shania, I think. What advice would you give to someone who wants to learn more about Mother Nature and the universe? Firstly, I'm not qualified to tell you. Secondly, I think just get out there. I think sometimes we make a really convoluted mess of something that's really simple. Like, I think just go for a walk in the forest, or go get down to the beach and just go swimming and push yourself out there a little bit, and put aside fear and go get immersed. I'd say that's the most advice I can give. Again, I'm not qualified to give it, but just go spend time immersed out there, and you'll learn things straight away. This is a good one from Lily. This isn't a question really, but will you play Walk You Home by Horror Show one of your lives? I would definitely shout out Horror Show. I will definitely consider it. I had another question actually somewhere here about, here we go from Jamie. A question the world needs an answer to. Why did you delete your cover of Horror Show? My life hasn't been the same since. Horror Show getting a lot of love tonight. Yeah, the boys. It's because there's some funny thing with YouTube, and it's from there's no funny business. We just couldn't have it on our YouTube page as we start up our record label, and so it's something that we are actually just. If you remain patient, trust me, this thing's going back up. But I appreciate that you guys. I've played that cover all around the world, and people really, really love it. So yeah, thank you for remembering that cover. Recorded in the backyard with Samuel D. Hall. Shout out Sam. And it will be back up online in the not too distant future. So thank you for noticing those little things. So from Martins, what's your plans for reschedule with the Europe tour? My plan is we're going to come back next year. I'm going to be releasing a bit of a spoiler. I'm going to be releasing a bit of music through this year to keep everyone entertained. And I'll be back doing a full tour in Europe next year. Shout out to anybody who's checking in from Europe. We had to cancel the tour. It was sad, but obviously the right thing to do in the scheme of what's just happened. And I loved my last Europe tour. So plan is to be back in Europe, and we're just working on dates. The girls are working around the clock, and I can't wait to come back. Playing in Europe is such a dream, and this tour is going to be so good, and the next tour will be so good. So we'll be back together really soon. So hang tight, and thanks, Martin, for the question. This one's from Chels 232. Did you always have ambition to be a musician? Hey. Or was there other careers you considered? freelance journalism was probably the realest one, because I actually was pursuing at the same time, picked up a guitar. So yeah, being a writer, and I have then pursued being a writer just in a different way. So there was that. At one point, I had thought about dentistry, and that was when I graduated school. That was because I had some friends who were really great family who's got a really great dental practice, and I saw them making really good change in the world and having a really great lifestyle. So, but I guess it was writing was my ambition from a really young age, and I just turned my writing into music, and that keeps metamorphosing. So I think writing has been an underlying theme in my life, and at the moment it's music, and I think in the future it's going to be a lot more as well. Looking here, what other questions have we got? Got one from Kate. What's been your favorite gig that you've played so far? My favorite gig that I've played? Oh, I've played too many. I've played too many incredible shows. Like there's just too many. Like most of the shows I play are unbelievable. Most shows I play in every part of the world are just. So I couldn't, even if I wanted to, I couldn't pick a favorite. I couldn't pick a favorite. It just wouldn't be possible. All of them. Do you want me to go from here, Kaisi?
Please.
I'm just getting some more Kaisers here. Shout out Kaiser from Confront Records. Yeah, baby. Helping me out with this. So some of these things. How'd you come up with Captain Planet and Used to? How did I come up with this? One's the question from, sorry, just my eyes aren't very good. Kira McKenzie, how did you come up with Captain Planet and Used to? Captain Planet, geez, when did I write those songs? Used to. Well, the concepts for the songs, just based on personal experience, really. The guitar parts, again, I'd say, which is probably a question I've seen come up somewhere here on my phone. Obviously, the percussive guitar stuff was heavily influenced by Ben Howard. I remember the first time that I listened to Ben Howard. Shout out BH. The first time I listened to my friend, I finished a show playing at a Thai restaurant, and I went into my friend's house. Shout out Jessica, and she put on this live performance it's on YouTube. It's of Ben Howard he's in Holland. And I remember turning to her and going, what is this? She's like, Ben Howard. It was like my world just opened up. And I think he's done I think Ben Howard has defined a generation of folk music. I think he changed I think he formed his own subgenre in folk music, that wasn't country folk or wasn't kind of mountain songs. It was like coastal folk music. I think he really paved the way for a lot of singer-songwriters in the folk genre. So a really big respect to him. And he was a massive influence, obviously, in the beginning. So that's those percussive songs. Again, my theory to playing guitar, my hot tips is pick it up and just start giving the mix manager on the last couple tours. When I first got a guitar, he was already playing guitar and shredded, and he taught me some of my first chords. Then I just looked on YouTube. To be honest, YouTube's a great way to learn. But I think you really can do a lot by just giving yourself a chance. There's a lot of talk around the psychology of not imposing that you don't play guitar to yourself. Like I think even with piano, I didn't start playing it till recently, and it was because I just didn't play piano. And then one day I was like, I'm gonna play piano, and then you start spending time and hours and hours and hours and hours. And so yeah, with percussive songs with Captain Planet and Used to, they were formed off personal events, and one's a very literal story, one's quite a subliminal story, or like kind of a story that's hidden in twists and turns. And the percussive side of it, I just turned my guitar into my lap one day because I saw Ben Howard do it and just started trying to learn. You guys are amazing with all these questions. There's so many questions. Just want to know, what's your favorite venue you've played at, and does the size of the crowd you're performing to differ your point of view? And then, yeah, this is also from Pat. I've seen you several times. My two favorite have been at Bright and San Remo. More intimate setting I find suits your music much better. I'll shout out Pat. Thank you, Pat Stowe. I'd say they have different challenges. My favorite venue I've played at. Again, I've just played too many good venues. The venue is one thing, but I think it's the crowd. I think it's the crowd's willingness to engage with you and like the sense of unity in the crowd that defines a show. And I've had shows where I've played to 40 people in the middle of America, 50 people in a small room, and that's been like an unbelievable show. And then I've played shows where everybody's got a real sense of unity, like on this last tour. So it's really just defined by the night, and the outdoor venues help a lot with my music, I find. And small venues obviously were my staple doing intimate settings. They give you a chance to tell. It's just easier when it's just less people, is sometimes easier. But like I said, I've played shows to 50 people. That's some of my favorite shows ever. And then like my Sydney Live music performance at, in Melbourne with 12,000 people was just rad, was also like unbelievable. So the bigger the show, the calmer and slower you need to play. That's what I'd say. That's the point difference for me. If I could learn to use an iPhone. Oh, nope, doesn't want to. Okay, that was the last one there. Okay. Anna Shields, what's the story behind 3 Degrees South? Oh. What's the story behind 3 Degrees South? I don't like to write songs that aren't hopeful. No matter what the song's about, I think in the end it's always a hopeful song. And I was just struggling, just burnt out when I wrote that song. I wrote, it was almost like trying to write a song about honestly where I was at and what I was feeling in this story between a boy and a girl, and then you know, that duality. But then the chorus is still like, do you believe in me the ways I believe in you? And is it the tides that pull us closer to shore, or is it the sea lifts us up in the weight of it all? So there's still like, I'm just always endeavoring to be hopeful in songs. I don't like it when a song has a dead end. It's like, for me, it's like, just for me personally as a songwriter, I just don't feel comfortable. Fans singing that, people listening to that sort of message night after night, that like, that's it. Like, there's not any hope. Like, I just don't dig it. So for me, Drew South was like me, it's probably one of the, like, dark's a strong word, but I'd say it's one of the more emotive songs that I've written, and putting those words on paper was really scary. I wrote it it was one of the first piano songs I wrote, and I just wrote it on a tour that was just, it was just one of those tours that was a couple of years ago, and it was just like everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And it was an amazing tour. We had an amazing time, but it was just chaos, permanent chaos. And I'd had just come out of surgeries and had lots of personal stuff going on. It was just like, and you're just tired because you're touring. It was the start of a summer tour, which was an excellent tour, and we spent 5 months touring around the country. And mostly fatigue spells, I think the more I look back, like just fatigue, touring, that's the biggest thing you have to combat. So 3 Degrees South was born out of struggle, but still wanting to write a song with hope. So I have one moment, I remember being in the Southwest, being in Denmark, in Western Australia, and working on that song backstage at this little venue, at a Steiner School venue. And I remember putting those words on paper, and my friend kind of looked at me like, are you all right? And I was like, yes, but you're just trying to express yourself, and you got to put it down on paper so it's not as scary. And I'm really happy with that song. That song pushed me as a songwriter to continue to be honest. So from Sean Moon, what kind of yoga do you practice? Answer to that question is not enough. Now, the yoga I've been most into, I started out really early days, like with mum and dad back in the days, like 16, 17, doing Bikram yoga. At that time, I still had a hernia. Hernia's like a little hole in your stomach wall. And I was surfing a lot. I didn't have a very big awareness of my body, didn't have much like thoracic movement. And so Bikram at the time was extreme, which was nice. It was extreme and it was like, it really pushed you. But it also, because I wasn't aware enough of how to like bend the rest of my body, just my lower back was dealing with a lot of the pressure all the time. So I did Bikram, but I stopped doing Bikram. I then worked with a lady called Courtney Webb from Humanis Habilitation. She's based in the Northern Rivers. Shout out to Courtney. And we really worked together on releasing fascia stuff and just getting my mobility back through like my thoracic and breathing correctly and stuff like that. So that was really amazing. That helped me really get out of having back pain every day. I had pretty bad back pain every day at a really young age, which was frightening, and that's for the most part gone away. I then got into vinyasa. Found vinyasa to be a really great flow, in the sense that around the world I found really great vinyasa practices in every city, in every place I went, and very good teachers. So I loved that. And then most recently, because of my partner, I got into Ashtanga yoga, and with a really big focus on how you breathe. And that's been my favorite of all, and just have found so many new levels in my practice and my body. So Ashtanga has been the most recent one. And if you find a good teacher, I think without a good teacher, it's a hard one to start. But if you've got a good teacher or a good partner who's already into it, it's like, just get in and do it. It's fantastic. Whatever yoga we're doing, whatever yoga you're doing, we're doing, I think it's really important to try and get mobility through your whole body, because where I was causing injury in yoga when I was just pressing on my lower back a lot, whereas now I've got a lot more awareness. And yeah, so just to get full spinal mobility is the goal for me. So just to be extra flexible. I'm right to keep going. Cool. Can I grab just a little bit more tea, please? I should have done my vocal warm-ups, people. Not practicing what I preach here. Dan Hall, describe the impact Ben Howard and Every Kingdom has on you and your music. I think the question is, Dan, is what impact Ben Howard and Every Kingdom has had on my life. I think that's like, for me, that album I still play whenever I'm in the car. That album for me is like, it's been the album of the decade for me. An album of a decade. I have so many memories to that album. There's such a purity to it. Oh, so it's had a huge impact on my personal life and on obviously on my music. I think it gave me a really strong push in what direction I want to go. And then at some point you really have to continue to find your own identity, So I felt like it was really great to be inspired by him. And then I had to take a fork in the road, because you don't want to, Ben Howard for a reason, because it's him, it's unique. And I think that's what all of us as musicians have to find our own voice. But at a young age, that was the perfect thing, to be inspired by someone like him. Also, shout out Daniel Champagne, incredible Australian folk musician. Shout out Nick Saxon, who took me on tour. Nick Saxon actually just premiered his song on Triple J on Earth, a song I co-produced with him called Be My Forever. So check out Nick Saxon. He's going to have a new song out really soon on his Spotify and stuff. Kim Churchill, Jack Johnson played always, still does. Who else is really inspired? I grew up with like James Taylor and Eagles being played by my dad, and then Destiny's Child and Salt and Pepper. That's why I have that's why my songs have such a, I'm going to find an appropriate word, but my songs are a little confused at times, because I've got like this Salt and Pepper background, these kind of bangers, R&B bangers, and then dad's soulful, more sophisticated music. So other albums I really enjoy, Every Kingdom goes to number one. I think the other most played album is Matt Corby's Chillyric. I played that album back to front like on tour, going to bed, driving. It's just like the everything album for quite a while there, for a couple of years. I think singing along to Matt Corby's Driller pretty much taught me how to trill. So shout out Matt. I listened to In the Silence by Asko from Iceland, Asgia, as we say in Australia, a lot. In the Silence, I listened to that a lot on tour. There's so many phenomenal albums out there with so many fantastic artists. Like, that's just Arctic Monkeys AM, obviously, great Rocky album. All My Friends music. What's another album that's really... Anyway, that's just some albums there. I've got a playlist on Spotify called My Friends. You guys should go check it out. There's so many fantastic musicians and singer-songwriters in the world right now. So My Friends on my Spotify. Go check out that playlist if you want to discover some new music. I know there's a really important album I'm forgetting, but I'm going to keep moving on. Chloe Jones, what's the favorite song you've ever written? I think the favorite song, the favorite song for me that like I've written is like the one that you've kind of unlocked a new side of songwriting, or where you've simplified things to a new level. The best songs are simple, but they have a really great intention behind them, really great meaning, great delivery, you know, really good energy. So I'd say at the moment, my favorite song that I've ever written is an unreleased song, and it's called Chemistry. And that song I just demoed on my phone. And that's my favorite song because it really challenged me to find where that song lived. Like what that song lived, and just some of the vocal movement and the simplicity of storytelling with some of the uniqueness of lyrics. So it's often the new song is like your favorite song because it's a new song that you found a home for. It's the favorite song. As for release songs to date, I'm psyched on Together. Together came together in a really natural way. So Together was a real win for me. Like, was just a real heartfelt song and had a really great intention behind it, and a great team. Shout out the Dregs, Paulie B, Lord Tanuki himself, Stonewax Productions, Yamanui Studio, where we recorded it, fully solar powered. So many good aspects to that song. My favorite songs to play lives most of the time is the songs that you guys sing along with. Like, I watched this really great moment in this Eagles documentary, and he said something along the lines of that they've played that Hotel California song so many times, but it might be someone's first time hearing it that night, you know, when someone comes to their show. And that stuck with me. That stuck with me a lot, that sense of like, you can be indulgent as you want. Play your own songs in your own time, the songs you really want to play all the time. But there's people that come out to your show some nights that's the first time they ever get to hear it. So that's always stuck with me. So I love playing songs that you guys love as well. I get a real kick out of it, the sense of we all get to go do and sing together and sing and dance together. It's such an incredible feeling. Tom Lovemore. The ocean is a major theme in a lot of your songs. How busy is your schedule, and do you still find enough time to head for a surfs with the boys? Yeah, the boys. Tom, great question. Yes, I do these days, particularly because I'm not touring. I've been able to surf so much. It's been ridiculous. But there has been some moments, particularly last year and with the World Tour, Collapse on the Sun World Tour, and just touring in general. Yeah, you do surf less. And I at first quit my job at a coffee shop because I figured I'd be just as broke, but I'd surf more, and I did. And primarily touring revolved around where we could also surf for a long time. So yeah, that changes. And it does change. I would say even more importantly, just your general health and mobility and stuff like that, because music's quite a stiff thing. You're like twisted up in a chair, one shoulder rolled over. So like all of a sudden you've got all these twisting kinks in your spine and sitting in the car all day driving. And so then when you do surf, it's not as much fun. You'd be a bit stiff and stuff like that. So, but lately I've been surfing like a madman the last 6 months, and that's really important to go do those things. I had some really great hikes in America and in Canada. To me, it's just important that connection. It can just be going for the walk on the beach like we did tonight. You know, that's just enough as well. You know, it's not just now more and more. It's not just about surfing. It's just about how to just go and be in that space and be present. And it's inspired a lot of songs. And yeah, I think we're pretty close. I think we're pretty close to done. Just actually partly 2 reasons. One, favorite Dregs song and why. I just saw that little one from Tegan. Favorite Dregs song, shout out Dregs, great young duo who just smashing at the moment, great young lads. So friends of mine, favorite Dregs song. Goodness, oh bloody good, aren't they? My favorite songs are the ones that are not released yet that are coming out. So go check out the boys. They've got some new songs coming out, and one of those is really my favorite. Yeah, 2 reasons I'm going to cut this short soon is one, for my voice, because I didn't warm up, and you might laugh at me. We're blabbering for 45 minutes or so, 47 minutes. It's got my voice pretty warm, but actually I've also got ulcers. Shout out to anybody else that gets mad ulcers. I kind of got this going on, and I'm not speaking very much from my lower lip. So there's big holes in my mouth. And a bit of a headache, but I wasn't bailing out on you guys, so thank you for everyone who's joined. And I'm trying to answer. I'm cool to answer a couple more questions, yeah? You want to go home sometime? You've been at work all day. And I'm here. Let me see. Gosh, I'm doing like that old man thing, like getting in on the screen to try and catch the comment section. I was actually still saying here. Do I know any? Ziggy, I know you got Dutch roots, but do you know any Dutch words? Dank je wel. So no, thank you. And also, at one point we had to learn how to say receipt in almost every country we went to, because we had to try and get tax receipts. So what was receipts? I knew how to ask for a tax receipt in Dutch. Yeah, shout out if you are reaching out from Holland. Yeah, I got roots in Rotterdam. My grandfather was born there. The family house is still there, and it didn't get knocked down during the war, didn't get hit by any bombs. And my family through that time, my great grandfather actually hid an American pilot and a Jewish family, so and gave his life for that. So to me, Holland is really special. I love going back to Holland, and I feel like I have a really great example of as my family's not the only, my bloodline's not the only one. There's so many brave people from that time who did what was right, you know. So I love going back to Europe. My mom's Hungarian. She escaped communism when she was 10 and came to Australia. So I've got a lot of European background, you know. It's Dutch, Hungarian. Is there a bit of French, English? Could be. Is there any Austrian? Austrian as well. Yeah, crazy. A bitzer, which is what I think it means to. One of the things I think it means to be Australian, to be honest, is to be a bitzer. Like, I'm so proud of that. I'm proud to be born here, and I love this country and love being Australian. And being Australian parts of me is being a bitzer, and I love traveling the world and having family and friends everywhere. Any tips for upcoming musicians during these tough times? Far out. Just keep your bloody head up and stick together. Like, it's. Someone asked me that the other day at a coffee shop, and my answer is definitely like sign the petitions where they're trying to, where there's petitioning going around to try and recognise the amount of job and industry and opportunities been lost in music, to seek government support. So please keep pushing for that. And other than that, take this time to write, lean in on your skill set, and just prepare, rest and write. And we'll all be out gigging soon, I really hope. Does the feeling of playing the songs get less intense the more you play them, i.e. best friend? That one's from James Dunn. Great question, James. No. And I think that it doesn't get less intense, and that's just because I really like to lean into the songs when I play them live. That's probably one tip I'd say one piece of experience that I'd like to tell you guys as musicians. I think that any musicians or writers or out there is mean what you say. Like, if you're gonna go up and perform a song, don't go up and just play it. Like, it's just get in on the feeling and why you wrote the song and be there. Like, mean what you say, and that's what I try and do on and off stage. And so for that reason, they don't get any more intense. They get sometimes more calm because they find their place in a natural rhythm. And best friend's starting to get there. You start to figure out what it needs as a song. But for the most part, pretty intense and nerve-wracking to not blow that part where I'm singing by myself without playing any piano. Ariana, the first song I ever performed. Kaiser, I'm going to do 9 more minutes just to make it an hour. Am I allowed to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Because we've got such good questions here. And thank you to everybody who's jumped in and hung out with us for another 50-odd minutes. I think this is really, I think these sort of things are really important to kind of take the opportunity to do this, to kind of be connecting with people who've been listening and supporting my music while I'm not playing live shows. So thanks to you guys for all the questions. Like, there's so many good ones, and I'd love to get through all of them. I'm going to try and get through as many as I can for the next 7.5 minutes. What was the first song I ever performed on stage? I don't remember. Shout out for you performing Love Me Now first. Great song to learn if you want, guys. Like, that's a simple song. Standard tuning, no capo. It's kind of like an F shape and a C and a G, I think. The first time I performed on stage was an open mic night before I worked at a live music venue when I was collecting glasses. Yeah, I remember the night. It was like a Wednesday or something. Mum questioned if I was at a point where I was good enough to go and perform, which I said, thanks, Mum. That's a big confidence boost before I go walk up on stage. But love her to bits. I wasn't. I started performing well before I should have been performing. I was never actually, most of the time I just lucked into these places and gotten these shows and was totally not at a point where I should have been performing. But I just managed to just pull it off every time. Great feeling. It's not stressful at all. Was the oil drilling, this one's from Helena, was the oil drilling protest in Bondi successful? Yes. Yeah, it was. Great question. We did a bunch of protests across the country. Where are we? It was in October. Was it October or November? In November 2019, we did all these protests for the Fight for the Bite. Short rundown for everybody, which I was quite vocal about last year, was that there was planned deep sea drilling in the Great Australian Bight, which is not only a place of extreme, of awesome biodiversity and of national importance and of industry and jobs and economy, crazy beautiful environment, wildest environment, and the oil spill that the company Equinor had forecasted. If there was an oil spill, that it would cover more than half Australia's coastline, decimate not just populations of animals, it would also decimate our jobs, our economy, our livelihoods. So it was just a bad situation. And thankfully, despite the government not shutting it down and in fact endorsing it, the company recognised that there was such a huge public outcry from around the world and so much petitioning that actually withdrew. So tusen takk to Equinor in Norway, for you guys for listening to the people. Really, really appreciate that. And I mean that with no sarcasm at all. Thank you, because Australia fought really hard for that. So, and thank you to everybody. I would like to, on that note, just quickly say we were really successful with protesting last year around the world. And I think at this time, with environmental and humanitarian concerns at hand, they still exist while the world's on shutdown. They're still being pushed through. So to anybody who's got a passionate cause, keep an eye on it now. If you have time at home to research, to be well versed, to be signing petitions, please keep on top of those things, because those haven't stopped. So we had a lot of success. We had a lot of amazing protests and public gatherings, and those are things that we can't do right now. And so I think it's really important to remain engaged and passionate on the things that you're concerned about, and find how to keep contributing to those issues. This time, I implore you, please, if you can do that, that'd be wonderful. How do you recommend, this one I'm just reading here, Lucinda, how do you recommend finding a platform for creators who don't produce typical art? I'm a writer, so don't have the same platform as a musician might. That's really, you might have a better answer than me, to be honest, because I think that at the time I just found my niche, and it wasn't the mainstream thing. And so I really believe that up and coming artists now, musicians, writers, will actually have their might have the best idea of how to do that. So for writing, goodness me, I can't say, to be honest. I think you can start grassroots though. If you're a writer and you've got work you want to be published, there's great independent bookstores around the country, around the world. Go see those independent bookstores. I used to take my CDs to shops all around town and like introduce myself as the artist, and like, hey, just bringing a CD in case you want to play it. And that was a really great way. So just grassroots stuff is so important. And once everything's chilled, go out, let's do grassroots. You can do the grassroots startup stuff and play those shows and do grassroots connections and house shows. That's all going to be awesome once shops are open. And for everyone who is running a small business and is feeling at this time, I just want to say, yeah, we're, particularly, I know for my friends that are running it, like, it is a difficult time, and we really want to support you. I think as the public, we really should be supporting them more than ever, our small local businesses. So if you've got some friends that you can try and support in any way, whether it be like emotional or whether it be through physical help in some way, let's try and support our small businesses that give us the colourful, that independence and the colourful society we have around the world. So shout out to anybody doing independent small business. This is going to be the last question I'll ask. How much music are you planning on releasing this year? This one's from Will Hamilton. Will it be follow your more traditional stuff, or is it going to try and be more like Intentions 22? My guess is it's going to be more like the traditional stuff. Probably contrary to what people might think, Intentions 22, which was like more poppy and stuff I'd done before, was a real stretch for me. It was really nerve-wracking. But because it made me nervous and it challenged me, it's something I wanted to do. And when I play that song live, it's been like one of my favorite moments in the whole set. And so it really scared me. It really scared me to release that song, but I wanted to do it. And I think the way that I remember seeing one comment on my YouTube being like, I don't dig this song, the level of love and like understanding the people I play my music to and have, they're just happy to see me releasing music. And so I think it'll be more traditional just because the releases that are coming out this year, I can't say too much. But yeah, it's going to be probably more traditional just because it's what I'm really feeling at the moment. Intentions was such a valuable and a really important growth point for me in my songwriting, and yeah, I'm just taking the chance at the moment, being independent, to release the songs and release the style of stuff that really inspires me. So we've got really cool stuff in the pipeline. But beautiful people, to the 367 of you that are currently here, thank you for checking in. We're going to do more stuff on YouTube. I'll leave you with just please, at this time, it's something I'm going to probably post about my Instagram as well, just keep protesting, keep staying active in the issues that concern you. We have time at home to be learning more, to be more well-versed, to be gathering information, to be understanding these issues even better. And it's something that's going to be of utmost importance because right now there is legal implications around public gatherings. So please keep contributing to the issues you're concerned about. Keep healthy, look after your immunity, do some meditation, do some yoga. I might do another little meditation session. Me and Joanna might actually do some little yoga stuff. I'm considering, if you're interested, sharing some of my tips for immunity. Not qualified, but the things that I do to keep healthy and well on the road and at home. But till then, great having this little moment with you guys, and see you back on here soon.